we continued with diarrhea. I knew that she was getting weaker and she was losing weight. I had to do something. The morning of September 17, I got a text about 2:45 a.m. It was a friend of mine. She called or texted to inform me that her father had just passed away. Her father lived right down the road from me. He had the exact same hospice team I did. The same nurse, the same social worker, the same CNA. I told her to come on by. I was up anyway. My mother was very sick. When my primary nurse came in later on that day, he knew who Leslie was. He knew that she had lost her father just hours before. He had a trainee that day, and when he came into my home, knowing my mother was very sick and had been sick, he came in laughing and joking. I can assure you, Leslie was in no mood to laugh and joke, nor was I. I was in the process of changing a diarrhea diaper when he walked in. Anybody that saw this from hospice, I don't care if it was Dr. Melvin, to the CNAs, to anyone, immediately jumped into some gloves and started helping me. That didn't happen this morning. I begged him to come help me. My arms weighed 200 pounds each. It's what it felt like. And I was holding her over, trying to clean diarrhea out of her wound. I knew that morning that I had a nurse that it didn't really bother them when they lost a patient. He had just lost one that morning. And I realized that it would not be a big problem if he had lost my mother that same day too. When I read the records, there was phrases like the PCG insisted on feeding her mother. She refused to listen. Yeah, I did. When I realized that their agenda was a lot different than mine, I did. I don't want to sound negative or unappreciative, because this hospice team was wonderful, with very few exceptions. The nurses, after-hour nurses, the weekend nurses, fantastic. They cared. They're compassionate. On a rare occasion, I would get a nurse that would come in and was like, she's old, or she's hospice. She's supposed to die. She's supposed to be sick. I don't really care if my mother was old as Methuselah. She was a patient. I wanted every possibility, everything addressed. This was my mother. I loved her more than life itself. Thank goodness that this was a rare occasion. We had the best wound care nurse that I could have ever hoped for. She worked miracles with my mother. She was brilliant, compassionate, caring. She had a great sense of humor and knew when to use her humor. And besides that, she was a Reagan gal. And Mom identified and loved anybody that was a Reagan fan. Pam and Mitzi stick out in my mind more than anyone. This is not to take away from the rest of the team, because I had 3 wonderful CNAs. We had a lot of good nurses that backed up our primary nurse. But Pam, she was amazing. She would clock out, go home, and the times that she knew my mother was pretty sick, she would text me back several times that evening. I had a text from her at 2 a.m. one morning. She couldn't sleep. She woke up. She knew my mom was having a hard time, and she texted me just to make sure my mom was okay. This wasn't something the hospice paid her to do. She was a nurse, and I appreciated it more than you could ever know. Mitzi, I didn't know her from Adam. She lived not too far from me. But hospice brought her to our home, and I'm forever grateful. Mitzi Avery was the type of CNA that could get Mom to do anything. I mean, Mom could climb the roof and jump off of it if Mitzi asked her to. But Mitzi, when she knew that I was exhausted, that I was stressed to the max, she would clock out after she gave my mother a bath, and she would help me do hydrotherapy on Mother. She would help me with Mother anything we needed to do, to move her to her throne, her chair, she sat with Mother where I could go get my glasses fixed or to go to the chiropractor. This is stuff hospice didn't pay her for. The morning my mother passed away, these two gals dropped everything they had going on, and they came to the hospital. A lot of other team members were there too. Tracy, Rudy, Myra, a few others were there. But these two girls gave my mother her last bath. They prepared her body to go to the funeral home. They tried to run me out of there. These two gals knew what my mom meant to me. They tried to spare me this process. But you see, Mom and I, we rode into the ambulance together to the hospital, and we came home together. I knew that this was one day that I would not be able to take my mom home. But I had to walk her down and load her last time. It was important. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate them and their willingness to spare me this. But I had to be there for Mom. It was my job. It was my duty. It was my pleasure to be with her every minute. Mom taught me the importance of making memories, and it sustained me through my darkest times. One morning, we started our day pretty much as normal. And after Mother's breakfast and my coffee, I got busy doing chores. Mom says, "Come on, let's go play." She loved to play. She loved pranks. I said, "Mom, I'm too busy. I've got a lot to do. You go ahead and go play, and I'll be with you shortly." She took off. I assumed she went to play. I started a load of laundry, of dark clothes, and I went back through the house cleaning. I wanted to hurry up and get done with that to go outside. My mom, I heard her slam down the lid to the wash machine, and I went in there to see what was going on. I realized that she had poured about a half a bottle of bleach on dark clothes. Oh, man. Okay, nothing you can do about that now. I said, "Mom, you don't need to be playing with that. You can get it in your eyes," trying to impress on her some reason why she shouldn't do that again. She took off through the house again. A little bit later, she came back. "Come on, let's go play." But I had too much to do. A little bit later, I heard a commotion in the bathroom. I poked my head in. She had water all over herself, all over the floor, all over the wall. She had toys swimming in the commode and in the sink, golf balls in the commode. I reached out my hand. I said, "Come on, let's go get some dry clothes on." I came back to clean up that mess. This went on all day long. And every little bit she'd say, "Come on, let's go play. Let's go have fun." I looked at my watch and I realized that time had slipped by. It was almost time for Tom to come home from work, and I needed to get some supper made. I hadn't accomplished one single job all day. I looked around and I hadn't seen Mother in a little bit, and the house was pretty quiet. This was not a good sign. I went looking for Mother. I called her and called her. No answer. By this time, Mother had forgotten that I was her daughter, and she didn't respond to Mama anymore. I had to call her Myrna.